had a Christian brother's education, and it was enforced with corporal punishment to the point of, that's my little finger here. That never
Holy
straightens
shit.
out. Every day in school, when you get a question wrong, you got hit with a stick. Well, I was saying that actually because I'm looking at this document here, the Defense Department, Defense Forces document, and there's a schedule with that. And the schedule also has a financial package that goes with it. So much of the implementation of this very dangerous document is being implemented in this year, 2024. We're already in the month of May, which means that pretty much as soon as this World Health Treaty is signed, this thing can roll into action. And it is scary. It is scary beyond words. It's the setting up of a new intelligence network, like a new CIA. We do have an intelligence gathering section of the police force here, but this is a separate one, and it's a joint military, police, and third-party agency. And there are also an expenditure on drones, and they're upping the military for a neutral country by hundreds of times. So what they have planned and what they have afoot here, if all of these hostiles and foreign mercenaries are allowed entrance into our military, this is the budget, this is their weaponry, and this is the document giving them full reign of terror on us.
Chief, I need to ask you another personal question. What is this responsibility that you feel for the people, for your people? Like when did this start? Like, where does it come from? And do you feel this heavy responsibility? Is that why you're not being afraid to be local and you're stepping up, which we commend so much, man?
Well, I would say it's deeply embedded in me due to my childhood. I went through some serious childhood trauma, which I don't want to necessarily get into very much, but I was traumatized for quite a bit of my childhood. In my education, Jim just touched on it. I had a Christian brother's education, and it was enforced with corporal punishment to the point of, that's my little finger here. That never straightens out. Every day in school, when you get a question wrong, you got hit with a stick like the leg of a chair, you know? And I would come home at lunchtime. My mum would say, "Oh, how did you get on this morning? How many hops did you get?" That means how many beatings with a stick did you get? And I'd say 5 or 7. And she'd say, "Oh, not so bad." It got to the point that I would have at one point to get a letter from the doctor to say, "Don't beat him for another couple of weeks. Let the bruises on his fingers and his joints heal before you beat him again." So that I got a 3 weeks grace until my hands healed. So this is the type of trauma you get growing up in Ireland.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you went through this, man. So they were basically like they were breaking you. They were breaking you guys into the system basically at a young age like that, man. That sounds horrible.
Very much, very much. But they did beat an education into you at the same time. I still remember the towns of every county in Ireland, even in Irish, and you had to know what the manufacturing goods were and all of this type of thing, you know. And it's like, if you couldn't ream them off the top of your head, what are the towns in Ireland? Oscailga. You have to go Corkigan, Cove, Farmee, Falla, Oakle, Kintallaga, Strud, Naboundon. This is in Ireland. If you got it wrong, you're out on a line, and when he had enough people on the line, he would come down and everybody got whacked. And that was how you got educated. That's how you got educated. 6 hours every day.
Jim just said you got tortured, man.
tortured to the point on a Sunday night, I would be sick at the thought of having to get up for school the next morning. Monday morning, I would be so sick with anxiety, no breakfast could be held down. I would throw it up if I put something on the way to school. And it wasn't until you had corrected your homework by 10:30 in the morning that you could relax, because you knew you weren't in for the next phase of beatings until probably the afternoon. You know, so that was like, it was really.
What's crazy is that in the Soviet Union, we had the same thing, man. They used to beat the shit out of us, man. So is this when you found this sense of justice? Is this when you found this calling to that you had to do
No,
something for your people?
I think it's more deep natured than that. I'm an empath by incarnation in this life. I went through 2 kidnappings by the time I was 4.5 years old. You know, you pulled away from your loved ones, you don't see them for a year and a half. So I
What
went
do
through
you mean?
them.
What do you mean? I'm so sorry. What do you mean about that? Can you talk about that? What do you mean by kidnappings?
Well, it was the equivalent of a kidnapping. A family member turned up at my home when I was 3.5 years old, my mother's sister, and without me being told, I was taken by force and put on a bus and taken away 170 miles away from my mother, father, and 3 siblings. And I didn't get to see them for another year and a half. Okay. And a year and a half later, I was totally oblivious. I had started school, I had new life, new friends, all of that. And 2 people turned up on my door one day, and I had forgotten who my parents were, and they had come to take me. Okay. So I got kidnapped the second time back into my family. But I didn't recognize my siblings. We didn't speak for 3 weeks. I was like traumatized to the point of, you know. So that's part of my incarnation in this life, and the same with the beatings and everything. It's just part of my karma, and I accept it and I embrace it now because it was very formative, and it helped me to become an empath and be empathic to the suffering in the world. The only vocation as a child that I had in my life was to become a Roman Catholic priest. My aunt, my father's younger brother, she joined a convent at the age of 19, and she became the Mother General of the Franciscan Order of Nuns throughout the world. And she held that position for 45 years of her life until she died at 84. So I have a religious background on my father's side, also on my mother's side. And as a child, going through that trauma, the only security and peace at night to go to sleep was praying to Jesus and praying to the Sacred Heart, pictures like that. So my only endeavor and vow in life was to be a priest. And I later tried to follow through with that. I joined the Irish charismatic movement. It's like the Jesus singing movement of that started in the 70s in America, and it took root in Ireland as well. And I was one of the founding members of that, because our school was primarily leading the way in that. And I always had the ambition to be a priest until I became so disillusioned. I was an altar boy for 3 years. I served, and I can still sing all of the Latin songs, the Kyrie eleison, and the whole Latin Mass. I can serve, and I can still remember it in my head. So this connection with my religious internal and my empathy towards the sufferings of and the injustice. I'm a Libra, and not only am I a Libra, I'm born in the middle of the Libra, middle decadent of Libra, and I'm born on the 11th of October.
So you're in the middle of the middle.
So not only that, I could get into the time that I'm born. I'm born at 11 minutes to 1 a.m. On the 11th of the 10th, 1956. And when you add all the numbers together, you get 7 ones.
Damn.
And then me. Then there's me, right?
Yes.
Then there's me. I was born on the 1st of the 1st.
Holy
Capricorn.
shit. Wow.
There
So
you go.
Anyway,
I wanted
to
to
add one thing before
Yeah.
I forget. I wanted to just add one thing, right? That what I see is taking place is that Rome is changing Ireland's religion. Rome is finished with Catholicism in Ireland. It's ran its course. It doesn't work anymore. So they're replacing it with Islam. Not even Islam, and they're replacing it with Muslim religion. Muslim religion and Islam there's no connection.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Yes,
but this
yes.
is what, they don't give a fuck. They don't have a religion. They don't give a fuck what religion Ireland is going to be in the future, as long as they are still in charge. If they still own all the land and all the property and can open up a new bank, this is how they run the world.